All right, welcome to a new vibe, Positivities place in the Uinta Basin. I should probably start with an introduction. Most of you know me in one capacity or another, but today I'm going to share a little bit more about myself. I work as a therapist at Northeastern Counseling Center by week, and I'm also on the drug court team. I'm a parent of 5, and I'm a minister at this church. Unfortunately, church is currently closed until December due to COVID, which has made it a real struggle to recover and fill up for the week. In working with several friends, we've discussed the importance of positive connection in our lives, and many of us agree we lack options. Thus, a new vibe was created. It was created as a safe space for people to come renew, refresh, and refuel for the week. A place void of harmful practices such as assumptions, gossip, and other forms of negativity. A place where we learn from each other and form new bonds through vulnerability, integrity, empathy, and trust. A new vibe is a place where we feed value into one another. A family. This is a me thing. Not a me thing, sorry. It's a we thing. This is our meeting. The meeting is a safe place to share new and differing ideas that promote positivity. A place to tap into service and spirituality, a place to put your talent and your skills on display, a safe place to share your story, a place where we listen respectfully to all. A new vibe is not affiliated with any specific sect or religious denomination. Instead, we hope to awaken spirituality through the creation of a positive atmosphere. To keep this a safe space and a healthy environment, we are void of discrimination and politics. We could all take a break from politics, couldn't we? So, because we're new at this, we're going to get going, and I get to speak today. The nice thing is, if it sucks, you can't say anything. Remember, this is an hour of only positivity. We do have some awesome prospects in the future for speaking. Guess who? Yes, possibly you, right? Okay, I have a friend named, his name's Danny. He wants to come talk to us on a subject. He has a really good program that he gives called Be You. My friend Sarah, she's a therapist. She's going to be joining us for some talk about self-compassion. Talk to Deb. We all know Deb loves recovery and her spot in recovery. So I'm sure she'll probably be speaking a little bit about her story. And give a powerful story on recovery and more, okay? So tonight I want to talk to you about the idea of burn the ships. But first I need to give you a little bit of background. Many of us have been to that place or a place of brokenness in our lives. Often we refer to it as our bottom. For me, unacceptance fueled feelings of worthlessness and a lack of connection. So I connected, because that's what we do as humans. We long for connection. Unfortunately, for 17 years, I connected to the wrong things: drugs and alcohol. I lived a lonely life filled with bad parenting, bad behavior, and deep depression. I remember being broken. I remember feeling like there was nobody there for me. And I remember sitting in that cold jail cell. As I sat, I did something that I was horrible at. Listening. I listened in the silence. Not to my head, but to my heart. And there was something out there. Call it God, call it a higher power, call it the universe, or call it an awakening, or call it consciousness. I call it God. That voice was telling me I was valued and that I was loved. And feeling that type of love in our hearts can be healing. It's magical. And it's more magical the more we believe it. And even more so when we share that love. It washes away those lies that have told us you are not worthy. You are not worth it. You're a terrible person. You're a horrible parent. You're a drug addict. You're a loser. And that you'll never amount to anything. In 2011, I became woke, which included sobriety. My kids moved back in with me. I added 2 little boys to our family, bought a house, got a bachelor's and a master's degree, and love had changed my whole life. So fast forward to 2020. Our Addict to Athlete team, a recovery team I belong to, had a date scheduled to go parachuting. Our team motto, erase and replace, meaning we erase the negativity out of our past and we replace it with something more meaningful. Parachuting could certainly do that, right? Talk about facing your fears. Anyone who knows me knows I absolutely hate heights. If I'm 10 feet off the ground, that's too high. I've done rope courses in the past, and I've been about that high off the ground, and I start to uncontrollably shake. Anyway, sometime in May, we had this scheduled this year. Tyler, my oldest daughter, and I had been attending Addict to Athlete meetings for some time. It was a daddy-daughter thing, and she loved supporting my sobriety. The Giant, her nickname as our mascot, thought jumping out of a perfectly good plane would be a great idea. I struggled to buy into it, but she insisted how great it would be. Then, as is not news to any of you, the COVID thing happened and the world was put on hold. They changed the date of the jump from May 2nd to June 20th. Little did I know at the time that would end up being Father's Day weekend. I loved that idea, that I was going to be able to erase the father that I had been and I was, and replace it. From the start of the year, I'd claimed that 2020 was going to be a great year, filled with 2020 visions. Set your goals high, and I did exactly that. Somehow, I made it okay with myself to skydive. What the heck was I thinking? And I added along the way that I would be flying with my angels. As the date approached, I was paralyzed with fear. I came home from work after an especially hard day, and I wasn't going to tell anyone, but James, our Addict to Athlete coach, shared with me a skydiving accident had happened at the place that we were jumping. Why would he do that? After being terrified all day, I got home and I was talking to my roommate, Dee, about how my anxiety had been out the roof. And as I was thinking about this skydiving event, I went on to explain to her that my anxiety had been so bad by lunch, and I was so terrified at the thought of jumping, that I told her I had prayed and asked God to send me a sign that I would be okay jumping from that plane. After I prayed, I had to hurry and pray again. Oh, and God, it has to be a definitive sign, I said, as in a for sure signal. Oh, and one final request. It has to be no later than the date of the jump. After my prayer, I felt a little bossy. But hello, I was scared, so I was okay with it. Pause. Sorry, rewind. Where was I? Oh, and one final request. It had to be no later than the date of the jump. After my prayer, I felt a little bossy. But hello, I was scared, so I was okay with it. After praying, I hopped on that treadmill and a song came on the radio, Fight On Fighter, which talked about facing your fear. I shook my head and I said, God, if this is my sign, it's not clear enough, and I'm not yet jumping. Dee agreed that she too was fearful to jump, but added she wanted to jump while, quote, envisioning herself leaving all of her baggage behind. The fear was getting to her too, and she agreed we should both be praying. Then she added, I do think that song was your answer. I decided to pull up that song again and listen to the words. Somehow, I hit the wrong song, and it started a different song somewhere in midstream. The song was called Burn the Ships. The words sung, step into a new day. We can rise up from the dust and walk away. We can dance upon the heartache, so light a match leave the past, burn the ships, and don't look back. Don't let it arrest you, this fear of falling again. And you, if you need a refuge, I'll be there till the end. We looked at each other. It doesn't get much clearer than this. We were leaving our baggage behind, and we were jumping. The date approached, and we arrived at the Nephi airport Saturday morning. My anxiety had kicked in. How was I ever going to do this? When we arrived, we had about 40 jumpers. We would divide into teams of 2 for the jump and pick numbers. Jumping with my daughter for Father's Day was such a special moment, and we drew jumpers number 5. A few hours passed, and it was our turn to jump. I prayed, and I prayed. I thought of all my angels in the heavens. I begged them to fly with me to keep me safe. I prayed to God again and again. Although I had my answer, my faith is poor. I am human. And 13,000 feet up in the sky is really high. It was our turn to load into that little Cessna plane. Let me explain this plane to you. The cockpit had 1 seat. Tyler and I would be crammed into the back with our instructors. I had to sit cross-legged so we could fit. Once in, you're leaning back on your instructor who you're tethered to. When you are finally loaded in the plane, you know in about 20 to 30 minutes you're going to be exiting that perfectly good plane into a wild blue yonder. Exiting a perfectly good plane. The plane ride was rough. Every little gust of wind shifted that little plane in the air. I peeked out the window a few times just to look at the beautiful scenery. But fear now had really set in. The flight is the longest part. It's like the commercial where the kids are crying, "Are we there yet? Are we there yet?" Climbing and climbing, higher and higher. Paralyzed with fear, I continued to pray. I noticed my breathing picked up pace. I told myself to use the grounding techniques that I teach as a therapist. The 5-4-3-2-1 technique. For those who don't know what that is, it's running through all 5 of your senses to help you ground yourself. 5 things I can see, 4 things I can touch, and so on. I begin with the 5 things I can see. I see a sticker of a pink unicorn. How fitting, I think to myself. And then the sticker of an angel, even better. And I am working my way through my senses. Tyler can see that I'm stricken with fear. Tyler is laughing. We planned it so she would be out of the plane first. I felt a little bit better envisioning myself chasing my daughter 13,000 feet out of a plane. I mean, which dad wouldn't go after their kid? Let me just tell you, when that door of the plane slides open, things get real, and they get real really fast. Wind is pummeling through the cockpit. Adrenaline is blasted to maximum capacity, and your life, it flashes before your eyes. And then, off she went, off into that wild blue yonder, flying with angels. My instructor yells for me to slide back towards that door. I am panicking, I'm terrified, I'm praying. I envision that cross being drawn on my body. I get to the door. Now let me explain this exit. You have to step out onto this little bar that is only a few inches wide and maybe a few feet long. Yes, you are outside the plane, traveling at who knows how fast. I put my foot out and my leg is trembling. My leg is shaking uncontrollably. Whose idea was this? My hand gripped that cockpit door. My instructor is yelling at me to let go, to step all the way out. I am so scared. My arm is clutching the doorway. My COVID mask is flapping in my face. I'm in my face. I pull it off and it flies out the door. This is really happening. It's a go. I have to let go. I have to leave all of that baggage behind. There is a whole new world waiting out there. I do it. I conquer my fear by taking that step, that leap of faith. My mind is not into it, but that's not what is important. My heart is. Before you know it, I'm doing a backflip. I feel somebody tapping on my shoulder and then tapping harder. It registers. That means put your arms out at 90 degrees. Then I do, and I'm free falling at 120 miles an hour. The fear is now gone. It's just adrenaline. My lips are flapping in the wind, and as it rushes in and out of my ears. There is nothing I have ever done in my life that is so exhilarating. I am flying with my angels. The majestic world below is jaw-dropping. It's awe-inspiring. I gulp some fresh air and I remember I need to breathe. And then it happens. The parachute opens. And you are floating. Float on. I see my daughter out ahead, spinning around, doing loop-de-loos. And I scream to my instructor, I don't have to drive this, right? Kind of like the song, Jesus, take the wheel. Just let me enjoy the ride. And the instructor replied, no, not if you don't want to. I don't want to drive, I stuttered. When I drive, I have ships to burn. And today I'm perfectly fine letting the one who knows best drive. And there I was in the sky, burning the ships, leaving that past behind. Boy, is creation grand. Mountains and valleys and streams and lakes on top of the world, literally, floating towards the earth. Finally, I come in for that landing. How fitting that the instructor tells me to keep my legs out and to land on my butt. Because I do that sometimes. I land on my butt. Anyone else? But what's the important part of landing on your butt? You get back up. You stand back up and get yourself on solid ground. Today, because somebody loved me, I'm able to get back up, even though I fall and I'm imperfect. After we landed, I realized I had just experienced a high like no other high that I'd ever experienced. There would be no jonesing. There would be no hangover. The experience felt amazing. And I wasn't going to stop feeling amazing about it. I had just faced one of my biggest fears, and I had conquered it. After our jump, I looked out on that beautiful blue yonder I looked up in the beautiful blue yonder I had fallen through, that I had just tumbled through. And there it was, something I had never seen before. A rainbow ring that ran all the way around the sun. I pulled out my phone to get video. It was one of the most amazing things that I had ever seen. That rainbow around the sun. I posted it to my Facebook and somebody responded stating, that is a rainbow sun halo. A halo. No better way to end flying with my angels and burning those ships. So let's get back to the idea of burn the ships. The idea of burn the ships came from the Spanish conquistador, Hernando Cortez. The idea is when they landed in Mexico to seize the world's greatest treasure, him and his men would burn their ships, meaning that there would be no turning back. It was all or nothing. They knew that the treasure lied ahead. Our past is like this after we burn the ships. There may be ashes, there may be dust, reminding us of that wreckage of our past. It is only there as a reminder from where we came. But like the phoenix, we rise from those ashes and we forge ahead into our wild blue yonder. And I hope this meeting takes us to unimaginable places, the wild blue yonder, or infinity and beyond. Thanks for listening and letting me share.